Hello there and welcome to the Card Grotto. Today I've got the pleasure of taking part in Christy Gets Crafty's celebration video hop. She recently reached 10,000 subscribers over on her YouTube channel and has invited loads of designers to share the celebration with her, which is really nice. So I'm starting off with a piece of white cardstock. This is cut with an A2 sized card kind of die, and it's got some stitching on the outside, so just temporarily adhering that to my craft sheet. And I have the stencil here. This is the Create a Smile Waves of Stars stencil, and I'm just sticking it down with a little bit of post-it tape and some frog tape as well. And then I've got some Ranger texture paste. This is the opaque white version, and I've got a palette knife here, and I'm just going to add some of that onto my craft sheet. And then I've got some Nuvo Pure Sheen glitter, and this is in ice white. It's a really pretty glitter. So I'm just going to mix that in with the embossing paste. So I'm just going to mix that in really well. And then I decided that I wanted a little bit more glitter. This is a celebration card, and I feel like it's a really good time to add in all of the glitter and the bling and everything to make it more celebratory. So just adding in a little bit more of that. And then I can add that over the stencil. So just adding that all over the stencil. So while I'm doing that, I just wanted to mention there is some prizes to be won in this video hop. So there's 5 prizes from the 5 different sponsors. The sponsors are Lawn Fawn, Butterfly Reflections Inc., W+9, Avery L and Newton's Nook. And I will have more details over on my blog of all the different prizes that can be won and the closing date and everything like that for the comments. So just adding that embossing paste all over the stencil. And then I've got a large tool here. This is from Dreamweaver, and it's an embossing paste tool, and it's really good just for evening out all of the embossing paste if you want a more sort of even surface. So it just gets rid of any of the excess. And then I can clean up my craft sheet there on my tools, and then I can remove the tape from the stencil. And then once that's removed, I will go and wash it in a sink of water. So I do apologise for the lighting in this video. I do use natural lighting, and unfortunately the summer here in England has been a bit off and on, and the lighting has been a bit strange in this video, so I do apologise for that. So here I have some Stick It adhesive, and I'm adding that onto some white cardstock. I really love the Stick It adhesive because it's really good for die cutting because it's so thin. And so I'm just adding that onto the back of some white cardstock, and then I'm going to die cut a word die. So this is the Celebrate die from Sugar Pea Designs. And I'm going to run that through my Cuttlebug twice using that cardstock with the Stick It on the back. And then I'm also going to do it once with just some normal white cardstock. Here I have the Celebrate die cut word, and sometimes when you run it through a die cutting machine you get some little knobbly bits, especially with word dies I find. So I'm just using my bone folder just to even those out. And then I've got some Distress inks here, and I'm going in a rainbow order to colour in the top of this. And I'm kind of pouncing the ink on as opposed to blending it, because the die cut is quite a delicate die cut between the letters. I wanted to make sure I didn't rip it or anything like that, so I'm just kind of pouncing those colours on in a rainbow order. And I will have links to all of the different colours that I used over on my blog and in the video description here on YouTube. And then I'm just adding a fine mist of some Perfect Pearls with water, and then I can set that aside to dry. And then I'm going to work on the extra bit of the sentiment. So I've got the stamp set here. This is from Sugar Pea Designs, and this is called Celebrate All the Things. I've got some black cardstock, and I've just applied some EK Success powder tool over that. And then I'm going to stamp that down with some Versamark ink. So just stamping that down at the bottom. And then I can apply my white embossing powder from Nuvo. I'm just using a coffee filter just to grab any of the embossing powder that falls. So I did do this a couple of times, just took off the excess, and I did have a little bit of extra powder lying around, so I did use a dry paintbrush just to get rid of that. Just funneling that back into my embossing powder pot. So here's that dry paintbrush, and then I did heat set this. I did unfortunately miss it off camera, but you've seen me do that before. So here are the die cut words, and I'm just taking off the backing of the stick it adhesive on the back there. Just being quite careful removing that. And then I can stick it down to the next layer. So I'm going to do this 3 layers. I am going to use some foam tape on the back because I wanted the bottom layer to be still popped up a little bit, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra stability. So just removing the backing of the sticker on that piece as well, and then I can adhere it onto the bottom layer. And the stick, it's really good because although it's a really strong adhesive, you can move it about a little bit to start with. So here's the embossing paste piece. I've left this to dry for about 15 minutes. And I'm just cutting all of the excess off the side. And here is where I went a little bit wrong. I've got a side fold A2 sized card base. I'm just going to adhere the piece onto that with some ATG. I didn't really want a side fold card base, and I'm not quite sure why I did put it on a side fold card base, but accidentally I did. So I, in the end, did cut that down and then add it to a top folding card base, but I didn't capture that on camera. So the front of my card is quite thick actually. It's about 3 layers of cardstock. So I'm just applying some adhesive onto the back of that, the special day sentiment, and then I can add tiny little bits of clear foam tape onto the back of the sentiment piece. Just removing that backing off those, and then I can add that onto the card on top of the black sentiment piece. Just getting rid of any of the excess little bits that sometimes hang around after die cutting as well with a pokey tool. And then I can just place that down onto the card base. And then to finish off, for even more sparkle, I decided to add some Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear sequins. So just working out where I want them to be, and then I'm going to use some multi-matte medium, and I did drop that sequin. Thankfully the multi-matte medium is matte, and I can just get rid of that excess and no one will ever know because it does dry matte, which is really good. And then I can just apply the rest of the sequins down and not drop these ones, which is always helpful. So although this card did have a little bit of trial and tribulation with the different things that went wrong, I do like how it came out in the end. So there's lots of sparkling shimmer. It's a little bit difficult to see on camera there, but here's some photos of the finished card. I will have a link to the next person in the video hop down in the description bar, and it will also be on my blog as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.